Hello, hello.
Hey, good to have
How's it
you. Oh,
going?
nice. Love the background.
Oh, I was going to say your background is pretty impressive. I love those kind of hues and the lights and colors. It's pretty cool.
My friend always makes fun of me. He says that my white balance is completely incorrect, and he's like, "I'm gonna come over there and fix this." It's like some sort of setting that just doesn't always work properly, but I don't care. I just go with it. It's what I'm doing for now.
Absolutely.
Depeche, I will let you introduce yourself and start speaking to round out. I think perhaps our few sessions that we've already had here on advertising and media buying, and then even after this, we're going to talk about the other sides of media buying on content strategy and the rest of it. So I think by the end of today, everyone here will be ready to launch their own campaigns or hire an agency such as yourself to do just that. With that said, I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. Let me share my screen with you guys. Um, so what I wanted to cover off today was something where I wanted to simplify Facebook advertising. Like Facebook can be as complex as you want it to be, but honestly, like I've audited hundreds and hundreds of ad accounts. And actually, it's maybe surprising for some of you. Some of the kind of breakout successes come from people not mastering Facebook ads, but mastering something else. So that's what I'm going to cover off today, the simple forward strategy to profit and scale beyond 7 figures without being a Facebook ads expert. So I'm Deepesh, founder of the BPM Method, SM Commerce Agency. And let me take you through that journey of where people are coming from and how they end up in such a powerful position. So right now, someone somewhere is converting your prospects into a customer with Facebook ads, and they're doing it consistently, predictably, and profitably. And they have no clue how. Now, you might laugh at this and say, how is it possible for people to hit 6 figures, 7 figures, and still have no clue? I can tell you they are, because when I'm auditing some ad accounts, I'm disappointed, I'm appalled, I'm shocked at some of the ways that they've set up their ad accounts, but still they're profitable and they're scaling. And I want to share with you what I've discovered over the last kind of 5-6 years and how we've formulated that into a plan so that more people can have that success as well. So what do they all have in common? They are not Facebook ads experts. Like the majority of these people that are able to have success that have not mastered the platform, they have one thing in common. They understand 4 simple principles. And that's what I'm going to take you through and show you how that translates into an ad account strategy on Facebook as well. So here's the common problems that I found from auditing so many ad accounts. They have a weak core advertising strategy, and I'll cover what that means as well. They're wasting time in Ads Manager chasing hacks. So I'm sure some of you have seen the kind of fast scaling and different strategies of scaling Facebook ads. And people start on the technical side and they wonder why it doesn't work for them. The third point is working against Facebook's machine. Facebook's machine is this thing in the background that's learning and constantly finding better ways to find you profitable audiences. And actually, if you start to work against that, it becomes an uphill struggle. And then the last part is the lack of repeatable process. And that all results in unnecessary anxiety and stress. Now, if you're truthful with yourself, if you've had any kind of involvement with Facebook advertising, put your hand up, say yes if you've had any kind of anxiety or stress. And I started Facebook advertising what are we now, 8-9 years ago. And I started off like this, and I know many people suffer from this as well. And it comes through those same points of lack of structure, process, and understanding as well. So today, what I'm going to cover off, it's good for e-com, digital info products, local advertising, affiliate CPAs, etc. As long as you're after stable, predictable, and profitable results with Facebook, so that you can focus more on serving your customers and not on trying to fix and hack Facebook. This is not for you if you're brand new to Facebook advertising, so some of the principles may not make complete sense. If you don't have an existing product or service to sell, then again, this won't quite fit. You need a product or service to be able to present that to your users on Facebook. Or if you believe Facebook ads will solve all your business problems, Facebook ads is only part of the solution. It's not the solution. Or if you don't care about customer service, or if you prefer shortcuts with no effort, because that's really not the way to succeed with Facebook. Also, this is a SaaS-free zone. what I refer to as SaaS is shiny advertising strategy syndrome. And what happens is I'm in all the Facebook groups. I see all the conversations. I run my own Facebook group, and people are always looking for the next big hack. Like, what's the fastest and easiest way for me to 10x and 20x my results? And the problem is sometimes they work, but most often they might give you a short spike, but they don't give you sustainable results. That's not what I'm about right now. I'm about giving you the foundations and showing you how to create sustained results. And hopefully we won't be needing to sacrifice any lambs either. So since 2014, the story's been the same. Higher costs, more competition, Facebook's dying, algorithm problems, new ad products coming out, new hacks and policy issues. I could quite easily change that to this year and say, hey, it's got higher costs, more competition. This happens every single year. There's always some kind of challenge or problem with trying to get your Facebook ads to work. And ultimately, we want our customers to literally throw money at us. And I love this graphic because it's just, this is how Facebook used to work in 2014, 15, where you could just literally turn up and run ads. There were t-shirt sellers and affiliates making a ton of cash. But right now, the Facebook user is worn out. They're burnt out. They don't trust the majority of advertisers, and rightly so, because there's a lot of trash on the platform as well. So that's the difficulty that we're up against. I actually ran a survey recently to my subscribers, my group, and these were the most common issues that people were seeing. So unstable, yo-yo-like performance, where one day your CPA and ROAS and revenue growth looks great, the next day it drops, then it might drop for 2-3 days and it comes back. Or they're struggling to understand the numbers to make the right decision. So, okay, your ROAS or your CPA has dropped. What do you do next? Return on ad spend, cost per acquisition, for example. And often they're scared of making changes because they might break something as well. And they're also having a difficulty scaling. Often when you try and bump up your budgets, performance goes all over the place as well. Does any of that sound familiar to you? So with rising costs, more competitors, policy issues, unpredictable performance, global issues, what should you do? The solution is simply stop advertising on Facebook. And hopefully that covered off all of your concerns. And that's great practical advice for absolutely no one. So if you're still here, let's change your story. Let's make sure that we can find a way to make Facebook ads work for us so that Facebook ads can be turned around. So so that we move away from the point of frustration where, you have great insights, but it's mostly not actionable. Facebook groups contain hundreds of ideas and opinions, but where do you turn? Majority of YouTube advice is from unprofitable amateurs, and the top 1% of experts keep their secrets locked up. So where do you turn? Let me give you a bit of introduction about myself. So I actually met Derek about 2-3 years ago now, and it's a similar format. Just I love sharing knowledge and advice. And when it comes to Facebook advertising, I get it. I get both sides of the equation, which is on the artistic and creative side, but also the science-led data analytical side. And Facebook advertising is right in the middle. And it's what I call brand-driven performance marketing. And it's something which I've formulated over many, many years to create a simplified system. I like to follow simplification because if I can understand it, I can teach it. And if I can teach it, I can train my team up on it as well. And it just so happens I've trained many people up on this as well. So since 2014, I've been winning fairly big with e-com, but that's not the entire story. I spent a year or 18 months on my personal ad spend, just losing money. And I couldn't figure it out. Then between 2014 and 2016, I helped clients to generate over $40 million, took that into the agency world to help clients generate over $50 million. And then since 2018, have been teaching others and having huge success with students. So basically, I've probably been in your shoes, but I have to say it took many failures to get there. Since then, I've talked at Facebook's office. This is in Menlo Park back in 2015, where I shared some case studies and examples of how we were able to scale up quite significantly. Back in 2015, our big scaling story was I took an e-com brand from 800K to $26.5 million in the space of 18 months. So obviously this caught the attention of Facebook. And since then, I've been sharing my knowledge in different platforms. There's a picture of myself in Fiji. But I just love teaching the strategies and seeing other people succeed. So let's create a new story. Let's turn Facebook into an affordable platform, create more stability, more profitability, scalability, make it easier, more structured, and more predictable. And let's focus on the big elephant in the room here. Facebook advertising is one complex beast. This is a Ferrari. This is a complex looking Ferrari, especially if you haven't driven before, or if you're still fairly new to driving. And the majority of people on Facebook are new to Facebook, or they've just started doing Facebook advertising. And this is what it will look like. It'll be like getting into a cockpit of a car. I could easily put a cockpit of an airplane in here. There's lots of dials and controls and things like that. All you want to do is know, how do I start the car? How do I get into gear? And how do I get the car moving? And it's a similar case with Facebook ads, except with Facebook, they've made it so easy to run ads. Like you could literally have a Facebook page and start boosting your ads. In fact, I did that many years ago when I started and thought I was a Facebook advertiser. And I quickly learned that's not the way to do it. And when you look at success stories of people like myself who have scaled up to significant sums, 25K in my first month of success, 16 million in 5 months. Recently, we did 26.5 million in 18 months, as I showed you before. But what gets often missed out is the reality is very, very different. So I could stand here quite easily and tell you about all my successes and how amazing I've been and my results have been. But actually the learnings come from the losses. All the losses, and they're all stacked up to create great foundations because I go through that learning. In fact, I run my own e-commerce store. So I have an agency and a training program, but I run my own e-commerce store so that I can do lots and lots of testing so that I can know what doesn't work. And when I find something that does work, then I can test and start using that across different accounts as well. And it's the analogy of, if you're shooting hoops, for example, you're probably going to miss a ton in training, but the ones that count when you're in that match and you're going through the three-pointer in the last few seconds of your basketball game, they're the ones that count. And that's how I see Facebook advertising as well. It's the constant testing, constant pushing of the boundaries to see what works. And that's what makes me successful. And I think that's just something I would want to kind of stress to you guys, that when you see these case studies and amazing results, just consider the losses and learnings that have gone through that as well. So let's cut this to the chase and go straight into giving you guys advice and tips on how to move that forward. Now, I gave you an example of a few case studies. This is one case study where we actually, in 1 month alone, spent 341K to generate 7.1 million revenue just in 1 month on Facebook. And what I want to share about this is, number one, the strategies I'm sharing with you shortly, they're basically based on the same foundations. And also, this was the first time that I managed to scale up Facebook advertising. And I just wasn't stressed out because we had all the systems in place. But it's because we got our core 4 working and we tested it thoroughly. And that's what I want to share with you today. So let's figure out how we turn your customers from being curious to wanting to throw money at your product or service. So part 1 is the boring part, is goal setting. When I look at my structure of what I'm trying to achieve, I work from a top-down structure of what matters for the business, whether it's mine or somebody else's, and work backwards from that. A lot of Facebook advertisers start bottom up, which is, let's look at Facebook, let's look at our CPA and ROAS and CPM and click-through rate and things like that. It's the wrong way to look at it. Often your North Star metric, if you're in e-commerce, for example, is lifetime value, it might be return on ad spend. Then other metrics kind of stack up to influence that. So average order value, cost per acquisition, conversion rates, they all stack up to build your revenue and your profitability. But below that is your Facebook advertising and your metrics. And that's where a lot of people get caught up, is focusing on the wrong side of their goals. So what I like to do is make sure I'm clear on what my current position, my future position are, and then figure out how I bridge that gap as well. Now, something about the Facebook side of things. So at the bottom, you can see a small diagram, and I want to just expand on what that means. This is the core of the Facebook algorithm. So BEAR is bid times estimated action rate plus user value. And what this actually does is, it's Facebook's way of analyzing each and every advertiser and account, and also the quality of the ad that they're delivering and how users are reacting. So for example, often I share an example of eBay. So if you're bidding on something on eBay, maybe the product is $50, you bid 500, eBay will just put enough that you win the auction for that moment in time, and someone else might overbid. But let's say, for example, it is $50, you bid 500, eBay will bid 60. So you now become the top seller. Someone else might bid 70, it automatically bids you up to 80. it's kind of how Facebook works, except you only have one chance. So, when you enter the auction, Facebook is evaluating all the different assets that you're serving up. So how good is your page? How good is the engagement on your page? And many, many other metrics to figure out where you sit in the auction. Should you win this auction or not? Does your ad get served to the user or not? And as technical as you can get with this, actually the biggest assets that have a big impact are a lot simpler. And that's what I'll show you shortly as well. So when I'm kind of looking at working through my different parts of the funnel, there's essentially three things that I focus on. Number one is improving your sales funnel. So your landing page, your cart or your sign up page, optimizing for speed, for conversion rate, for engagement. Improving your ad funnel is part two. That's then looking at your structure of your ad account and things like that. And then the last part is then pouring more traffic. So once you've optimized all those things, then you're able to pour more traffic. Now, if the reason I put number one is improve your sales funnel is because what I found through multiple audits and kind of working with people at various different levels is often their advertising is quite poor, but something else is actually driving their profitability and sales. So let's look at part two, which is the offer build. Now for this part, I want to reflect back on someone I've learned a ton from, not personally, unfortunately, but a guy called David Ogilvy. He's an amazing marketer. He was, one of the kind of pioneers for different aspects of brand marketing, avatar building, copywriting, et cetera, et cetera. Now, he actually started off as a sous chef and then made it up as a head chef. And then he started working for a research company before heading into door-to-door sales for an American cooker firm called AGA, A-G-A. And within the first kind of few months, he was failing quite hard. So going door to door in about, I think, the 1930s, so early, I think it was part way through the US Depression in the 30s. So people didn't want to buy anything door to door, let alone a high-end cooker. So at the time, I think the equivalent value of the product nowadays would be about $10,000. Back then, you're talking about $800 to $1,000, which was a lot of money for anyone to spend on something they don't really need. However, within the space of, I think, 2 years, he turned around that kind of rejection to become their top salesperson. And when Ager asked him, how did you do it? He wrote a manual on exactly how he did it. It's called the Ager Sales Manual by David Ogilvy. I believe the PDF is still online if you want to search for it. But essentially what he did was he went door to door and wrote down exactly why he wasn't able to get from one step to the next. And bear in mind, his goal wasn't to just sell the product. His goal was step by step. How do I get the person to answer the door? How do I get them to listen to me? How do I get into their kitchen? And slowly he found different techniques that would almost guarantee each of those. And it took him many, many months and many, many doors to knock to get to that level. And the long and short of how he actually tackled it was not only did he have an attack strategy for his marketing, he also built an amazing defense strategy. So the attack would be to show the opportunities, to show how great it's going to be. But it also built a defense around if someone says it's too expensive or it's too bulky or I don't need this. He had an answer for everything in every scenario, which meant that he had a massively high close rate when everyone else didn't. So what does that mean for Facebook advertising? That's something which I brought into the core four. So the advertising core four. If this is all you do with Facebook ads and you don't, honestly, you don't need to be a Facebook ads expert, this is the core of success. And the core four has four components. The product, so your product or service, which is a given because you need to obviously sell or serve something. Your audience and a deep understanding of your audience. A great offer, and I'd argue this alone has probably 80% of impact. And then obviously a funnel that can convince, convert, and close. In fact, this is just a quote from someone that attended a mastermind, said it's so simple, stupidly simple, that I couldn't believe it could do so much. So let me show you what it can do. So when I kind of break that down into the four propositions, first of all, the product, do you have a clear solution or opportunity? And what I mean by that is you could have the most amazing product, but if you don't have a clear problem that you're solving or a new opportunity you're creating, and you can wrap that around your product, it's going to be really, really hard to sell. Then your audience, how intimately do you know your audience? And then your offer, can you match the desire or need to the solution or opportunity? The offer sits smack bang between your product and your audience. That's the thing that makes the difference. And then your funnel, you know, once you've got that click, once you've got that engagement, can you convince and convert? And what I call the 3C offers is about connecting, convincing, and converting. Building your ideal avatar, stalking them, knowing them, building audiences around them, linking that to your product, and then creating your message angles that you can hook people in, and building your ad and sales funnel around that as well. Now, one thing I do want to highlight is when I talk about offer, I'm not talking about discounts and promotions and things like that. An offer is literally you're providing access or an opportunity, or you're proposing something to someone to accept or reject. That's the term offer. Now, from a marketing sense, offer has become discount and promotion. That's not what I'm talking about. An offer is literally connecting the product or service to the audience. And it might sound obvious, it might sound simple. I would suggest go and have a look at your advertising right now and see if you've actually connected the opportunity or pain point that your product solves, or it creates a better opportunity, to your avatar. And bear in mind, you might have multiple avatars, male, female, by age, and different kind of personalities and backgrounds as well. So an offer on Facebook is supported by the product and audience and funnel. So a great offer brings together the product and audience and pushes them into your funnel. Your avatar then helps to build your ads, your audiences, offers, and your funnel. So the avatar is all part of building that core 4 system. And there's a simple formula that I put together for the 5W avatar. It's WW, EWF, WN. It's far simpler than it looks. So the first W is, what are we selling? The second W is, who are we selling to? The third W is, why would they buy, but with an emotional hook? The fourth W is, why would they buy, but with a functional hook? And the fifth W, and this is something in which David Ogilvy worked really hard on, is, why would they not buy? And this is something I see a lot of people miss out when they're building their avatars, is that they're always focusing on them. Why would someone buy my product, et cetera, et cetera. Focus on your customer. Why would they not buy? And actually, those barriers can be built into your ad, so that when you're building your ad campaign, your creative and your copy, you're keeping all of these front in mind, so you can do a similar job to the kind of door-to-door salesperson, where you're breaking down objections. And some of the long-form copy that you'll see from popular copywriters, they're doing something similar, where they're trying to break down your resistance step by step in the long copy. Or if you're creating a video, for example, they're trying to break down your barriers in the video format as well. And it is so powerful when you start to see this relayed out. And I'll show you how we translate that as well. So now let me share some case studies with you on how the core 4, in particular the offer, made a huge difference to results. So case study 1, $26.5 million in 18 months. If we look at the biggest factor that made a difference, it was the offer. The offer was the most uniquely personalized keepsake gift for kids ever. The product was simply a personalized children's book, so nothing too amazing that's going to rock people's world. But the offer, and it took us months and months of testing to really figure out what's that connection between our audience and the product. And it was about creating something uniquely personalized to become a gift, a keepsake that you could give for kids and they can keep forever. Now, this book in particular, you key in the child's name, and actually the pages correlate to the letters of the child's name. It's a pretty cool book, but we struggled to get that proposition across until we got the offer messaging right. Avatar was simply adults that love children, quite a big universe. It could be mums, dads, uncles, aunts, grandparents, even friends that have other friends with children, for example. So there's a huge remit for us, but the avatars and how they react and the angles differed based on who we were talking to. Then it was a mix of lookalikes, interests, broad targeting, and then we go down to the detailed level of targeting. But essentially, it's the audience that brought the product and the avatar together. And the ads were all about emotional and functional reasons to buy. So like, as I shared before, it's about hooking people in on something that's going to tug at their heartstrings. So for example, we use a 4-funnel system, which I'll explain shortly as well, where we have cold ads that run top of funnel. These are people that have not clicked or engaged with our ads. Then we have a warm audience section, which is people that have engaged. So they might have watched a video or liked our page, but not necessarily clicked. Then we have the hot part of our funnel, which is click but not purchase. And then an existing customer path where we run ads to existing customers. And you can see all the way down how we're connecting the emotional appeal, the offer, and really playing on the fact that, for example, this gift could make you the most popular aunt or uncle at the party, or your kids are going to remember this for years to come. We are then pushing testimonials, user-generated content, etc. And then in some of our retargeting, pushing bulk discounts. If you buy more than 2, you get the third one 10% off, for example. And then really kind of trying to work on that messaging down that funnel. But essentially, if you looked at the ad account, it was very, very simple. There were no hacks. There was no amazing kind of a setup where you look at that and think, right, wow, this is so complex, but it looks like it's cool. It was a simple ad account structure, but we were able to scale up because of that simplicity. Case study 2, this is a more recent one, where in 5 months, we took a brand that were doing 2 to 3 million a year, and we did 16 million in 5 months. Again, it came down to the offer. So this was a ski wear brand who were selling an experience of being on the slopes. And the offer was to make you look and feel your best on the slopes. Now, bear in mind, if you've been on the slopes, if you ski or you snowboard, you want functionality. You want something that's going to keep you dry and keep you warm. It's going to be easy to put on, easy to put off, etc. But for a lot of people, you're also fashion conscious as well. And so we played on that. That became our core offer to just essentially sell ski and snowboarding apparel. Our avatar was anyone that likes to ski or snowboard, but we actually focused more on the fanatics, so people who went on a more regular basis, and we had kind of mix of audiences and things, but it was a fairly broad audience. Our ads were all about looking great and feeling great. So our kind of top of funnel ads were all about cool fashion, trendy, stand out. We had some influencers there. Again, we're kind of working on influencers down the funnel, and then working on testimonials, dynamic product ads. And this kind of account structure, again, it was super simplified. And I'll show you in a later screen the kind of structure that we stick to. But it's all about working on your avatar and your offers and getting ads that resonate as well. Case study 3. This is another recent one where a client came to us where the actual founders scaled the store up. They didn't really know Facebook advertising. And this is a great example where I looked into the ad account and I was like, there's so much money left on the table, yet they were still successful. They were scaling, they were profitable. Their offer was nursing for kind of nursing mums with stylish confidence. That was it. And it was apparel for post-natal mums. The avatar was any recent mum. So anyone who's breastfeeding, for example. So the universe was quite big. It's a US audience as well. And we were able to scale that up by working on that message and proposition of nursing with stylish confidence, because we got deep into understanding the avatar and what their problem was. Their problem was, and if anyone here is a mum, is being able to feed your baby in public, for example. It's a big problem. It's a taboo subject, but we are able to tackle that and say, not only can you do it functionally well, but you can also do it with style as well. Because up until this point, if you wanted something practical, then you lose out on style. If you want something stylish, you lose out on practicality. We were right in the middle, and we shared that as our key offer and proposition between product and audience. And that's what really cut through. And this is another great example of an ad account. And I'll show you the ad account from this, which is super simplified, but the power came from the offer, the avatar creation, and building a funnel that just simply allowed them to view the product and convert. So the ads were all about looking great and feeding with confidence. At the top of the funnel, it's cool fashion, it's comfortable, caring, regular mum life, and then kind of building in, as you've seen before, on the kind of warm and hot audiences. But for existing customers, then we started to market ideas to grow your wardrobe, because now you've experienced a product. Guess what? Here's a great complementary product, or here's a new style of the product that you bought before. So we could continue working on lifetime value. And for this particular product, the lifetime value just continues to grow. I think the database size is like 200,000 people or something like that. And it just allows us to use Facebook as an acquisition tool, and then use email for continued profitability. And that's another big important factor about Facebook, is don't see Facebook as I mentioned before, it's not your growth solution. Facebook is there to pull people out of the newsfeed, get them to buy or to give your email address. You saw the Messenger talk previously. It's a great way of acquiring people into your funnel, but then use that to then keep selling to them via email, via Messenger, via SMS, and even Facebook ads as well. So then once you've got your core 4 structure and you know your offer, you understand your avatar, one of your questions will be, well, what kind of ads should we run? Now, here's a great example. I saw this recently. It popped up in my newsfeed. It was funny. It caught my attention. And I'm sure For the men there, you might kind of recognize it as well. But it's talking about the importance of grooming. But the way they get their ad account, their ad proposition across, is a way that captures your attention in a way that we kind of try to set things up when it comes to ads. There are only 3 things that your ad needs to do. It's not there to sell. It's not there to give you a whole brand story and things like that. First of all, and I call it the 3N ads formula, it's 3 nudges. Nudge number 1 is get someone to take notice of your ad. So whether that's a scroll in the newsfeed or a story or something like that, this ad definitely gets your attention because of the colors and just a random way they've set up their design in the products. Number 2 is to get them to engage. So once you've got their interest, and I see so many people getting this wrong, even Facebook ads experts, as we call them, they get this wrong because they throw an image in just to grab your attention. And then when you read the copy, you're like, this doesn't make sense. So like, for example, it could be a zoomed in, really colorful image of a flower or an iris or something like that. And then you look at the ad copy, it has no correlation. So yes, you need to hook them in first, but you need to engage them by linking the visual with the copy. And then the third part is to get them to take action. The action your ad needs to convince people to take is to click or to watch the video or to subscribe or whatever your ad is trying to get the people to do. It's not there to get them to buy and increase lifetime value necessarily, especially at the top of the funnel. You want them to take notice. So nudge 1 is to stop the scroll. Nudge 2 is to engage. And nudge 3 is to take action. And a strong offer automatically creates ad copy that converts. So once you understand your core 4, once you've gone into your 5W avatar and you've understood the emotional and the functional pulls for your ad, creating ad copy and ad creative becomes so much easier as well. So the best offers appeal to the emotional, basic human desires. If you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I often refer to this when it comes to writing copy and creating creatives, because your product and your solution will sit somewhere on Maslow's hierarchy where the basic needs are things like sleeping, eating, drinking. Some of the next level ones are having shelter, having money, etc. And then right at the top is what they call self-actualization. And that's where all of your basic needs are covered and you want something more inspirational. So for example, if you're completely broke and things like that, there's no point serving you an ad to buy a Ferrari because you're not at that level. And so it's just matching your audience for where they are with the kind of right ad to convince them to click and buy. Good offers and funnels beat Facebook ads mastery hands down. So you could be the most ninja of Facebook ads marketing, but if someone else comes along with a strong offer and a great funnel, they're going to beat you because they're able to convince that customer to take the click. And you know, you've probably seen it yourself. Some of the best converting offers, info products, e-commerce, etc. Sometimes the ads are not that good in terms of visuals. Sometimes the funnels are not that great, but they're converting and they're profitable because they understand how to connect their customer with a pain point or solution. So then part 3 then comes down to funnel build. Now, the analogy I use here is quite often when I see Facebook advertising, people treat it like a cold date. So a cold date is you meet someone maybe at a nightclub or wherever it is, and your proposition is, hey, let's get to bed. That's quite a cold proposition. There's no kind of warm up, there's no lead generation, there's no kind of length of that communication and rapport building and relationship. Chances are that one night stand is probably not going to be your lifetime partner because of the way you've introduced them into your brand or your product and then converted them. And the same applies to your marketing. So if all you're trying to do is desperately get that sale, get that lead, get that app install, then that customer that you've brought in through desperation, for example, a lot of e-com store owners go straight in with an offer, 50% off your first purchase, etc. Guess what you're doing? You're training up your customer to expect discounts. And it becomes extremely difficult as you grow to remove customers away from that kind of discounting mindset as well. So what I do recommend is that you actually start dating your customers. So if you imagine 2 people, these are 2 well-known people, they come together on a dinner date. The first goal is not necessarily to propose or say we should spend the rest of our life together, but it's to go from date 1 to date 2. Now, what I would say is your end goal defines what kind of funnel you build and how you build that relationship. And what I mean by that is if you're selling a $20 product or if you're just doing email lead generation, maybe your funnel is shorter. Or if you're selling an e-commerce product, it's $300, $400, $500, then your funnel needs to be longer. Your rapport building needs to take longer. You're probably going to serve a top of funnel ad, maybe get them to the site, then retarget them, and then show them UGC, etc. So the strength of the cost of your product and the strength of your offer then works between the two of those as well. So there's two advertising funnel
Depeche, really
types.
quick, we're running low on time, and I want to make sure that we're able to get to your offer, because I think you have a great course and opportunity for people.
Absolutely.
But if you want to, I know this is so good, I don't want to interrupt it.
We're nearly at the end, don't worry.
I want to take a couple minutes to run through the rest of this, and we'll make sure and let people know how to follow up with you directly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's two types of advertising funnels. So first are the campaign funnels, and you can screenshot this, you'll come back to replays anyway, but there's 4 different distinct parts of the funnel, and it's about making sure you're serving the right ad to the right person in the funnel. The second part is then connecting that to your avatar. So our emotional reasons to buy, our functional reasons, and then also our barriers are built into those different stages of advertising. And this is what I wanted to show you. So this is a real simplified account structure. This is, I think the screenshot was taken last month. This is the ad account for the Apparel company. I think this was like a month spend, 104K. They're running on 2 ROAS on the front end. So, 100,000 spent, generate 200,000 in sales. And it's profitable, but they're making a ton of profit on the back end as well. And you can see that the spend is then split based on where the demand is. And although the retargeting has a least spend, it's also got the most number of sales, because the average order value is that much higher as well. And then we have our sales funnel. So the example here is sales funnel on the right has a 400% ROAS, on the left it has 100%. But it's not just about that. It's about lifetime value and understanding of the place that Facebook has there as well. And then part 4 is the launch, bringing that all together into a testing strategy. And essentially what we have is a phased test. We test audiences, then we test ads to find matching pairs. And then we move those into our prospecting campaigns where we start spending more money and see if we can get profitability and stability. And this is all part of the BPM method. So the BPM method, BPM stands for brand driven performance marketing. And it's really what I think is the missing part for most Facebook advertisers, which the ones that don't understand the technical side of Facebook actually get better completed than the ones that do. So the core 4 avatar ads funnel, 4 funnel system, just getting that right, you've gone ahead of 80% of people. Then comes the technical mastery, the testing, profitability optimization, and growth. But that's really the core of how we run our ad accounts. And it is so simple, but it's super effective as well to create sustainability and growth. And this is an example. So I shared the screenshot earlier of high ROAS numbers. And this guy was like, previously he looked at those numbers and thought, I really want to get them. And he got them by just following the process. And it is a super, super simple process. The question you might have is, well, why isn't everyone a Facebook ads expert then? Because everyone's a Facebook expert until they get punched in the ROAS. When things go wrong, that's when experts know how to recover. So that's a real difference here, that getting to 7 figures and scaling up is one thing, knowing how to react is a completely different thing as well. So I hope you enjoyed the SaaS-free zone. Let's get you into that Ferrari and driving faster and turn your customers into mad money-throwing people as well. So thanks, Derek, for the time. Thanks, guys, for listening. Head over to 21x.smcommerce.co.uk. There's a great case study on how we did that 7 million as well, where you can kind of continue the journey, use the references from this video, and hopefully help you guys to scale up as well.
Perfect. And I've just linked this here in chat, and I've put it at the top and bottom of your notes. I have extensive notes of this session for everyone that was following along. I know we had to rush through some of those slides, but oh my gosh, it was so good. And also actually a bit hilarious, I think, because the truth about everyone thinking they're a Facebook ad expert. I think you also said something along the lines of if you think Facebook ads is going to solve your problem, then like this isn't for you. Because I have talked to so many merchants who are like, well, we just got the store up and running, let's run Facebook ads, right? And I think it was in your group that I couldn't help but see every 4th post is something like, I spent $8 in ads and no one bought. Which is just the story of everybody starting out in this in the business. You usually don't have enough expertise or enough budget to really get what it needs to be a robust strategy developed. And so here you have the clear framework for doing it. And I know we had a lot of questions around that in chat throughout the day here. So you've given us a great resource and at least a really strong start to make sure that we don't become one of those new Facebook comments that we see all over the place. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We're going to move right into it. So